My name is Chyenne Thibodo, and I'm the head debate coach at Maple Grove Senior High. Before that, I coached for Robbinsdale for some number of years, and I'm really excited to be here today. I'm here as a member of the MDTA Equity Committee, and we help to advise the Minnesota Debate Teachers Association on issues of equity in the state of Minnesota. And what we've done today is get a group of former debaters and current debaters to come to this meeting to share with you some things around how equity exists in debate, can be improved in debate. So I'm going to turn it over and have the panelists introduce themselves. I am going to go in the order that my screen is, and so we will start off with Christopher.
All right, my name is Christopher. I am a senior at Lakeville North High School. This is my 4th year of debate. My novice year, I was an octofinalist at Minnesota State, and my sophomore year, I was state champion. My point of equity is I like to help make debate spaces more equitable for people after me, and that includes speaking on trans issues that I personally face.
All right, thank you, Christopher. Next, we'll move on to Nadrat.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. My name is Nadrat Amos. I've been doing debate, I guess this would be my 6th year. I started as a freshman in high school, and I now debate for my university, Howard University. So this is my 2nd year on their team. And yeah, I did an LD all throughout high school, you know, did the whole thing, went to state a couple times, and you know, it was a real fun time kind of doing the same thing at the college level, you know, but that one involves like more traveling, obviously, because of just how teams are more spread out. And my point of equity is just to make the debate space like more accessible and easier for like everybody, regardless of like whatever identities or marginalities that they intersect, that to make it like easy to maneuver in and easy to like access, so easy to get into debate, or like not so many barriers, and then like not so many barriers for people to like have a good non-toxic time in debate and remain in the activity and thrive in the activity.
All right, thank you, Nadrat. Next on my screen, the very official way we're doing this, Ridwan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Ridwan Mohamed. I did debate for 3 years. I went to Patrick Henry High School. I currently go to Hamline University. My point of equity would be, I don't know, to make this space, the debate space, not feel super, I don't know, like competitive, or like, I don't know, for you to feel like it's harder to, it's competitive or whatnot. Even though it is competitive, I want people to not feel like they can't do it. I want everyone to feel like, hey, you know, this is a space just for everybody equally can do stuff and be at the same pace, I guess.
All right, thank you. If you would introduce yourself.
My name is Saumya. I did both speech and debate for Edina for 5.5-ish years. I was a 2-time state finalist in Congress, a national qualifier in Congress, and then 2-time state finalist in 2 different speech categories. So speech and debate was a very, very big part of my high school experience. And in college, now I'm a senior at American University in Washington, D.C., and I decided not to do college debate, but instead I'm taking forward what I learned from congressional debate, and I'm now working on healthcare legislation. Last year I worked for Senator Klobuchar and worked on legislation for her, and I'm carrying that forward with other policy work today.
Thank you.
My point of equity, I guess, is based on different forms of discrimination and harassment I faced as a woman during debate, and just making gender equity for anyone who identifies as any gender to be no longer an issue in this space.
All right, we have one more panelist to introduce, and that is Kimia.
Hi everyone, my name is Kimia. I did LD debate for 4 years. I went to Maple Grove. And now I'm a freshman in college at Hamlin University. And I guess the point of equity for me is all marginalized communities and people, but especially like people who identify as disabled or who have some kind of physical or mental disability that makes accessibility to debate harder for them.
All right, thank you very much to all of our panelists for being here today, for introducing ourselves. To our participants, I do want to point out something important. At the bottom of your screen, you are able to contribute to the Q&A. So our question and answers for this panel will go through Kendrick Walton. Kendrick, do you want to show your camera, maybe introduce yourself?
I'm Kendrick Walton. I used to coach at Forest Lake High School. I'm taking a break from coaching this year, and I'm part of the Equity Task Force Committee. And yeah, if y'all have any questions, go ahead and submit them in the Q&A, and I'll pass those along to Chyenne.
All right, awesome. So we do have some questions already written, and then if we have time, we'll do a Q&A. So I'm going to get started kind of going down that same path, Christopher, Nadrat, Ridwan. And we'll start with our first question. Because this is the first tournament for a lot of debaters and also just getting back into the debate space, we wanted to give people a feeling, even our best debaters have their mistakes. So what is a mistake you made when you were newer to debate, and how did you come back from it? So we'll start with Christopher, sorry.
For me, it was a lot of the topics we have to do with human rights and how in democracies people are still disproportionately affected by that. And as a newer debater, I didn't realize some of these topics will hit people differently based on their own history of fighting for their equal status and equal rights. And a lot of examples are slung around without understanding the real impact that this has had on people's lives. And it led me to be really insensitive sometimes when it came to people asking for trigger warnings or to not refer to parts that matter to them of their history in the way that I did. So it took a lot of empathy to understand that I do have a point of privilege in this world, and I will not always understand how things have affected other people who paths were different from mine.
All right, thank you so much. Nadrat, what is a mistake you made early in your debate career, and then how did you come back from it?
So I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning of my debate career, as I'm sure we all did. But I think the main mistake that I made, and kind of the biggest mistake that I had to overcome, was kind of never questioning how anything worked in debate, and just accepting how other people were doing things, or how people would tell you things should be done. Because I think in the beginning of your debate career, you do kind of learn by mimicking a lot of other debaters, more experienced debaters, because you can only learn in a classroom setting or practice setting about how to debate. You have to kind of just trial and error everything and see what works best for you. And I think so often, because of who has the most visibility, i.e. the people with the most privilege who can gain the most visibility in debate, they kind of make it seem as if though you only have to debate a certain type of way. So for me, that meant I could only in LD, you use a lot of frameworks based on philosophers. So that meant I could only use one type of framework or philosophical way of thinking by a bunch of dead old, most likely racist. And even though I'd be well, maybe I want to try something else, I always just assumed that this is how everybody else is doing it, this is the only way that has any kind of legitimacy, so this is the way I have to do it, and I can't question why we do it or if we should do something different. So as I got older throughout debate, I saw that a lot of debate, if anything, it's better for you not only just to like find ways of debating that align more with your personal style and your personal wishes, but it's actually better for debate in general if we're continuing to try new things. You know, the whole reason why a lot of debate exists is because like people wanted to create an environment where they had like constantly changing discourse and people constantly changing like the ways they like operate and the way they do things. So one big takeaway I'd want for all people to know is just like never be afraid to like change up how you're debating, what you're saying, you know, like just in the way like, you know, the way you write cases change, like the way you think about topics change. So if you approached a topic a certain type of way at the beginning of the topic when it was released, you don't have to stay with that same stance like throughout, like you can constantly change.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Nadrat. Ridwan.
Hello. Okay, so when I first joined debate, I was like super new. I didn't know nothing. I've never done debate. I just like found out about it. I was interested in it and I just kind of joined, and I made a lot of rookie mistakes, like like not using my time wisely, or not knowing the terms, and I'll just like jump in like just to do it, and then when I get out I'd be like super bummed about it. Like I didn't use my time. I felt like, I don't know, when I first jumped in I made him make a lot of mistakes, but mostly it was like fresh new mistakes.
Thank you so much. Saumya.
Yeah, I think my mistakes were kind of similar to Nadrat's, in which I really doubted myself and my own intelligence, and I think that led me to keep quiet on a lot of things that I observed and saw that I felt were wrong. And I think that's something that I grew more confident in speaking out about as I got older in debate. But definitely when I started out, you know, a lot of the really highly regarded older debaters on my team would make, you know, really offensive jokes, or they would use terminology that was highly offensive and highly uncomfortable for me to hear as a woman. Just things they would say after a round, or things they would say about other competitors or about coaches or about judges. And I was quiet about it and I didn't say anything. And I thought that, oh, this is just how the debate community is. I'm new, like it's fine, like this is normal. So I think that was a mistake I made, that I didn't have enough confidence in myself as a young woman to really speak up against things I heard that were really offensive.
All right, thank you. And Kimia.
I would say, like, as a new debater, I always thought I had to like win, and then like the only times you would actually like learn something is if you won a round. So like when I didn't win, I would like think I didn't learn anything from this round. This was not a very fun event for me. And then like as I grew older and I started like, you know, I would win some, I would lose some, I started to realize like when I lost my rounds, it's like when I would actually be able to change my case a little bit more. It was when I would actually be able to like put in a new card, because I was like, this old card didn't work. So I think my perspective on like winning versus losing and how like they can both be positive things if you like look at them the right way changed as I grew up.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. All of these are lessons that hopefully our freshman debaters entering, as well as some of our upperclassmen debaters, can apply as they go through this season and through their debate careers. The next question we had is, what microaggressions have you encountered in the debate space? And what would you want debaters to know or to do differently in place of what you have encountered? So we'll go down the same list of panelists. So we'll start with Christopher.
When I first started debate, I was young, and since then I have gone through hormone replacement therapy, which has changed my appearance and the sound of my voice. So it was something I commonly ran into, to be misgendered in a round, which really affected my self-esteem. It would make me feel more anxious and bad about myself. It would also harm the way I was able to process arguments. So people on my team taught me how to run a K, which was keep the debate space accessible. And if people would purposely misgender me to throw me off my game, they should be voted out for that. sometimes judges and opponents would not take this argument seriously. It was a way I would combat my own form of oppression in the debate space, but it would still be seen as something that was an easy win. So judges would refuse to vote on it and would tell me it was an invalid argument, or my opponents would try to fight it and say that that wasn't something that they should be voted on and that it didn't matter. And in a way, it was like telling me that I didn't matter and that how the debate space affected me didn't matter. And I ran into this at traveling tournaments and home tournaments, and it was something that really hurt me because I felt like in the end, even if it was voted for, it was because they didn't want to seem like a bad person, not because they took it seriously and realized the harm that somebody else was doing to me.
All right. Thank you, Christopher. Nadrat.
So, wow, where do we even start? So like, when I first got into debate, and for, I would say the majority of my time in high school debate, I was like one of very few, sometimes like often the only that I'd seen in certain cases of like Black young girls and like Black women that I saw like that were like debating or like even like just in the debate space in general. And because of that, oftentimes a lot of microaggressions that I faced was people just constantly like trying to like police like my tone, like, which it always like, especially like when I was just first starting out, it was very frustrating and confusing because a lot of the people that you see like dominating the debate space are very like perceptually dominant, like they're very commanding, they're very assertive. And so when I would do these same things, like I would like get personally attacked by my opponents. They'd be telling me like I'm like being rude, like I like judge, strike her out right now just for like putting on this show. Like she's like, I'd like have debaters tell me that I was acting erratically or irrationally simply because like I was like pressing them in cross-arcs or something, or like just like naturally like raising my voice. Like I have a very like kind of like I talk very loud just in general, so like in debate like it's a lot more heightened. And then I would see like judges and like coaches like siding with the same debaters that were like trying to tone police me. So for a long time it felt like, well, I can't do well if I, you know, do what I naturally do, which is like talk in a very assertive way. And then I can't do well if I do the opposite of that because now I look weak and, you know, I look like I'm allowing my opponent to like rail me over or whatever. So that was just like, and it never, I mean, it always like stayed consistent throughout my debate career, but I guess just the way I understood it and tried to manage it, like got better and I dealt with it better. But what I would say to other debaters like who might be the ones perpetrating these microaggressions is like, you need to always, especially in the debate space, you need to always be cognizant of the privilege that you hold and how that might be influencing how you interact with certain debaters. Like you need to be indicting whether or not you're actually treating all debaters that you come into contact with the same way, because like if you don't have that sense of awareness, like someone else is gonna like be harmed from your actions and you don't want that. So you just need to be aware.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ridwan.
Okay, some microaggressions that I faced during my debate experience was a lot of mansplaining, and like when we were, so I worked with a different, because I had a small team in our school, we only had a little small team, and we get placed with a different person like to like be our teammate or whatnot. I remember, because I was like fresh and new to debate, and they would like, the person would always be like, he would take over, or like he would just take my part and like write my stuff for me instead of me doing it, because he was like confident that I could do it. It was like a little bit of I don't know, that's what something I've encountered. I also encountered like when me and my teammate would go to debate our rebuttals or like just do our own thing. After we were done, if we had won, there'd be like somebody who would say, oh no, we were better than them, like we had all this solid arguments. And it was hard because I was like, it was fresh, I was really new because I didn't know much about debate, and it's like we won on an argument that they could have like throughout, you know, and it was nice to like it was a little hard, but it was nice to know that there was like a coach that would help us in a way, you know.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Having someone stand up for you, tell you you're right, in the face of that can be very validating. Saumya.
So I had many forms of microaggressions and harassment. The main ones that really have stuck with me till this day were at nationals. I actually had someone touch me at awards ceremony. They touched my butt, and like I didn't even see who it was because we were in a big crowd, and I just felt someone like squeeze my butt, and I turned around and I didn't know who it was. And there was nothing I could do about it because like if anyone else had seen it, like they didn't say anything. I told my coach was like, there's nothing I can do. So that really affected me. I also had several comments throughout my career about my appearance. I think the way that you dress is very important in debate, but I think the way that male identifying people get policed for how they dress is very different than how female identifying people get policed for how they dress. There were several times when I had comments that I should be wearing a skirt, not pants, because a skirt looks better on women. Or I had comments like, your heels make you look like a hooker. I had that written on a ballot. I had a comment one time. I was giving a very passionate speech about I think it was the Rohingya refugee crisis. And I was talking about, you know, this very emotional human rights issue. And in Congress, how you present your speech is also very important compared to the content of your speech. And so my style of congressional speech giving was very, you know, presentorial. And I got emotional in this speech. And it was just because this topic hit really close to home for me. And I remember that on one of my comment sheets, it was a female judge, and she was like, your passion was amazing, like it was so inspiring. And then I had a male judge, and he said, you need to calm down your tone, you sound bitchy.
Oh, wow.
And he used the word bitchy on my ballot.
Yeah.
So it was just that dichotomy. It was just very, very clear. You know, how someone was going to interpret my voice and my passion for an issue based on other factors.
Thank you so much for sharing. Kimia.
Okay, so as a female, I've had a lot of times where what really would be annoying is like my male identifying opponents would use like feminism or like feminist topics in like their cases and be like, we need to do this for like women, these are how like women are being affected in society. And then they'd go around, roll their eyes whenever I said something, or they would like after the round they'd just say so like really derogatory things about women. It's like the difference between them in round versus like them in real life. So that was always really annoying because I would hear that. I was like, are you serious? And then another thing is like when like the Middle East would be brought up in like issues, I am from the Middle East, and I would just like try to like explain to my opponent how like that's wrong, like that's not actually like they're taking all of like the things happening in the Middle East out of context, and they would like at the end of the round, like afterwards they'd be like, no, you're wrong, like I know more about this than you do, I did research. I was like, okay, I mean, whatever. Like you just can't really say anything about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing not only your experiences, but also some things that maybe we as judges, as coaches, as competitors can take away from your experiences and maybe improve in our own interactions with one another in debate tournaments and debate practices. So the next question deals with that, I think, in a more positive way. So we want to know, what are times when the debate space, individuals, coaches, programs, rounds, has looked welcoming and equitable? So what has looked welcoming and equitable as you've experienced it? Or maybe if you haven't felt you've experienced that often, what would you imagine a equitable debate space to look like? Christopher?
I have come across judges who have been willing to help me with the things that I run, because I run things that have to do with, our democracies tend to be glossed over and seen as something that are really good, but in reality, it's dirty and gritty for everybody who's a minority. Um, or I've had people willing to educate me in places that I'm ignorant. And I know that it takes a lot from people to be able to do that, because it's emotionally draining to talk about something that directly affects you. In other ways, like a national level tournament I went to nationals my sophomore year, and they were really good about um, equity, and I got misgendered in a round, and it was during World, so there was 3 people on each team. And my teammates really understood, which like really touched me, because they were like, we don't care if we lose this round, you say whatever you have to say that would make you feel better in this situation. And the other person who refused to take accountability, their teammates apologized on their behalf. And I think in a lot of situations, once people become more educated, they are willing and they care about how you are emotionally affected by the things that happen to you at the end of the day.
All right, thank you so much. Nadrat, same question.
In terms of coaches, I was fortunate enough to have coaches in high school debate and now in college debate that are very supportive and always making a point to like make sure that the debate space that I'm in is like suitable for me or doing right by me. But unfortunately, in terms of like judges, I haven't really ever experienced that. I mean, sometimes after the fact of like dealing with like microaggressions and around, or like dealing with my opponent saying something offensive or something like that, maybe coaches or judges might be like, oh, like, your opponent shouldn't have done that. But it's like, you had the most power during the round and you literally could have done anything to like make that point to that opponent. So it's like, that doesn't do anything for me after the fact. But something that I recently experienced judging a tournament myself when I was in DC made me think about how coaches and judges can be like more equitable. So there was a team, I believe, from Puerto Rico, and all the other teams were from the U.S. So the team from Puerto Rico, a lot of the students had like different accents, which I guess some students like found hard to understand. But I mean, it, I told them, I told the other teams that weren't the Puerto Rican team, I told them, like, if you have trouble like understanding during, like, just ask for clarifications. Like, we're not gonna just throw and discount this entire round simply because your opponent comes from a different part of the world. I mean, to them, you have an accent too. So it's like, if there's any, and I allowed them to like stop time, like, so all the questions regarding like clarification on like what they said, just off of like language barriers kind of things, like were like not taken out of the round, like they didn't have to use their prep time for that. So like that was like a really quick and easy fix, and which I realized was not really being done during that tournament. And a lot of the students that I encountered from the Puerto Rican team said that they were losing a lot of rounds simply because people were not trying to like understand them, which I just think is like terrible because it's such a quick and easy fix. So I think like just literally looking in any other direction to try to solve a problem instead of like discounting it because you've never approached it before is like what all people need to do.
So I'm gonna like just ever so slightly interject with everything I've been hearing, which is just that in the debate space, we don't lose our identities as teachers, our identities as human beings, and sometimes stepping out of that, just playing the game of debate to be a person and to help people understand what's happening, help people stand up for themselves is an important thing that we can do as opponents. It's an important thing we can do as judges, and believing our students as coaches. That something really did happen that kind of shook our students. Ridwan, what is an equitable debate experience that you've experienced or I guess imagined?
Okay, so my debate coach was really wonderful. I loved her so much. She was great. But during debate rounds, I had great coaches too. I went to a great story I have is I remember a time when I went to debate camp. My I don't remember her name. She was wonderful though. Oh my God. She helped me a lot because remember I told you I had a different partner and it was always tough. And she was coaching us a lot in our pool, and she helped me a lot over like kind of communicate what I needed to be different, or like kind of like he wasn't understanding stuff, so she like had to speak with him, and like she was always there to like fix this connection between us, and she was always there to like help us process stuff out. So I thought that was really nice. My coach, on the other hand, she wasn't at debate camp, but she helped me a lot during debate rounds because I was pretty new to debate and I didn't know a lot of stuff. So she was like the one who kind of like did that networking thing for me. Like she went and talked to other coaches to like help me out, to give me feedback on what I could do better on. And then like she kind of like was always there to make that connection, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing what adults can do to help students feel more welcomed and more confident. Saumya.
Yeah, I also had really great supportive coaches on the individual level. And then kind of broader, I loved the Congress community because I felt like it was more openly diverse than LD was or policy. And I made just like some of my best friends there, and the people there were just so inspiring and uplifting. And even though we were opponents, you know, we all ended up becoming such good friends, and they were always, you know, standing up for each other whenever something, you know, discriminatory would happen. So I really, really appreciated how our community came together whenever anything would happen. And I think just, I know someone asked, like, when have like people stood up, like there was like a comment made that someone resembled a terrorist, and I saw like their friend immediately stand up and say, listen, like that's Islamophobic, you can't say that, that's not okay. So there are definitely instances where I think peers can relate to each other the most and then say, hey, you can't treat this person this way.
Thank you. Kimia.
So my senior year of high school, my senior year of debate, my last year, as Chyenne knows, I got tendonitis in my left hand, and I wasn't able to debate for like I think the last month and a half of the season. And I have a mild physical disability, so I couldn't at all write with my right hand, couldn't type with my right hand. So my left hand is the most useful hand I have. And like me, Chyenne, my other coach, Diane, we went through like ways of how I could debate, but just through all of it, it was just so complicated. Like it was just like you could ask the judges for like to do speak over, so that when you're like I couldn't flow, so like I would have to somehow get my opponent's information on a flow through like electronically, and it was just really complicated. And I was thinking back on that, for me it was only like a month and a half I was really affected by this, but for people who just can't who can't type and who are having this issue for their whole lives, I just think that like we need to have some rules, we need to have some ways to like think about like how we can help people who can't type all the time, who are like but who want to do debate, because like I feel like we're gatekeeping this to like only able-bodied people when we could have much more, like, because disabled kids also have things to say. Like we're not just like some corner like not able to speak for ourselves, and like to only have like mostly able-bodied people here without like really thinking about how we can reach all kids and all high schoolers. I feel like we need to do that so that when a kid who can't type gets to join debate, they have a way to really be themselves and to really speak their mind just like any other kid would.
Thank you, Kimia. Yeah, there's a lot of questions about how this activity can run. I'm excited to see what digital debate can do for some things like that, but we definitely have to put in the work and put in the thought of how to apply these lessons as we leave this digital year. I am going to ask just at least one, maybe two questions that we got from the chat or from the Q&A. So the first one I want to ask is, what advice do you have for debaters to take care of themselves mentally and emotionally, especially when they encounter the kinds of microaggressive behavior that you guys have talked about? So what have you done, or what do you wish you had done to make yourself feel more comfortable when you encounter these instances? We'll start with Christopher.
I actually wasn't able to do debate my junior year because of my mental health. It's something that I struggle with just like on a genetics basis. I take medication for it, but debate can be really stressful and it puts a lot of weight on your shoulders. And for a long time, I was unable to ask anybody for help because I felt ashamed. It felt like something that I needed to be able to do on my own, or else I wasn't really worthy of winning on the cases that I would write, which isn't true because, like, regardless on if you need help on or not, everybody that's debating right now is still a high schooler, and we have coaches for a reason. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you need to take a break, or you can't always attend practice, or you need help to finish your cases or write blocks, because everybody understands, like, at the end of the day, we're all human. We all have things going on with ourselves. And if you reach out, there is always going to be somebody who's willing to help you. And it shouldn't be something that you have to be ashamed of, because you are struggling with something that some people may not be. So it just makes you stronger in that way.
Thank you so much. Nadrat, what are some bits of advice for taking care of yourself that you have for new debaters or any debater?
Definitely like what Chris said, like, know when to take breaks. Like I, in high school, did like debate, like towards like my last year, like I was just going through a lot like at home, and then I was just like starting more and more to feel like alienated in the debate community. I felt like I'd been here for like so long, and like people still treated me like I was a novice and would like act surprised if I like showed the amount of skill that you would expect somebody who's been in an activity for 4 years to like show. So, and it like was really like weighing on me, and I really like just needed to like take a break, especially if you are a debater who like, you don't see a lot of people like yourself. Like, it takes a toll on you to like, in my case, like I was like a Black girl debater, and I was literally like spending so much of my time like being in a space where I was like the only person that looked like me. And it didn't, like, regardless of the amount of well-intentioned people, like there are always going to be like people who either like consciously or subconsciously just like do not care about making the space like more accessible to you. And also like it just like people like to be in community with people like them. So to have almost like that need like catered to everybody else that you're in a space, and like it never is catered to you, like it weighs on you. So like definitely want to take that break. And also like if you can like try to find your community. Like I mean, I kind of did, I like made an effort to like connect with other Black debaters, other Muslim debaters that like I never like we didn't go on the same team, we didn't even live in the same area, but like, and just us like being together and always like having each other's back, and knowing, because some of them, like I said, I had really understanding coaches, some of them did not. Like some of us had coaches that would completely discount their experiences. So for them to know that they could always come to us if they couldn't come to their coach, and we would always be in their corner, like that's something that's really helpful, especially just like through all the things that debate can throw at you.
That's really awesome advice. Ridwan.
For me, I had a great debate to coach, like I said again. She was always there to help me and stuff like that. But I think one advice I'd give for people who are dealing with stuff, my my junior year of debate, I was like everywhere because I had to study for stuff. School was kicking and everything. And I think what helped me most was like taking a break from debate, like just focusing on what was like at the precedence that was important to me. But if that's not like a thing that you can do, I think another thing that you can do is like if your debate is understanding, or you can talk to somebody, find somebody that you can talk to about issues that are like pertaining to you. If you need to take breaks, if you have to be at the debate, go. But if you need to take breaks, let their coach know, or convey that with your partner or somebody. Just know that you're human too, and that you need to take that time to go be human, you know, like just
Absolutely.
care yourself. Yeah.
All right, Saumya.
Yeah, I would echo all of the above. Plus, I think really prioritize yourself. I think it's really easy to get lost in the team dynamics when you feel like you need to like help your teammates. And the best advice I ever got from my coach was don't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. If you are not doing well, then you need to prioritize that and don't ignore how you feel. Don't ignore the things you're going through, and really communicate with yourself first before everyone else. And then don't be afraid of making friends with people from other teams. I think that was the best part of joining debate, was honestly I made friends all over Minnesota and all over the country, and it's really valuable.
All right, Kimia, you're going to finish us off, but we are coming up at that 12:30 timeline. What advice do you have for people to take care of themselves mentally and emotionally in debate?
I would say don't make debate your whole life. I think we all go into debate as freshmen and we get really involved with it, so we make it our whole life. We spend all our hours writing our cases, writing these bills. We spend our Saturdays, and I think like understanding that like there's going to be negative experiences, and the best way to not have those impact you as much is to not make debate your whole life, to have a life outside of debate, so that when these negative things happen to you, it's not like your whole life is just falling apart. And I think that would be beneficial to a lot of people.
All right, thank you so much, Kimia, and thank you so much to all of our panelists for taking time to discuss these really important issues with us. Participants, you are free to go. It is 12:30. Make sure that you are keeping an eye on your tab room account for your next rounds. You can always reach out to your coaches if you have questions, and they can reach out to us. Oh, and we'd love to hear your feedback on the panel discussion if you fill out a 1-question survey that our wonderful tech support has added in the chat. As people are leaving, if you guys want to answer a lightning round question, you could. Christopher, what kept you coming back to debate? Like 1-sentence answer.
Debate is my passion, and it is something that taught me to be confident in myself and my opinions and beliefs.
Nadrat, 1 sentence. What kept you coming back?
I could not stay away. Like it was like it's in me. That's it.
Ridwan.
I love it. It was fun. It was great, insightful. I learned a lot. Just kept coming back to learn more.
Saumya.
I think just the vast amount of educational knowledge I had, just debating so many different topics every single week, it just awakened this curiosity in me, and I love it.
Kimia.
The people on my team, my coaches, I just loved being a part of the team, and I just wanted to make a good impact.
Awesome. Thank you again, panelists.